everyone, my name is Gargi and welcome to my Booktube channel. So this is my very first video and I wanted to do a little introduction, but at the same time I wasn't really feeling the newbie book tag because it kind of feels like a job interview and kind of feels like very gatekeeping to me. I don't know how else to explain it. But yeah, it very much felt like a job interview and I very much hate those. So I thought I'd do an introduction where I give the people what they want. So I put some feelers out there and I asked people to ask me questions. So some of my followers and friends on my Twitter and my Bookstagram were kind enough to ask me some questions. So I'll be answering those. And if I name drop anyone, I will be adding their link in the description below. Let's get to it, I guess. Okay, so first things first, let's get some things out of the way. So hi, I'm Gargi. I'm 22 years old and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a resident of India and I'm Indian. What else? So I have a Bookstagram and a book blog. My book blog is fairly new and I am not very consistent posting on any of my platforms. I really suck, but it's okay. So let's get to the questions. This is from Ikram on Twitter. And she is asking me what are my favorite ships. So this is kind of like a hard question for me to answer because, well, romance is kind of hard for me to understand. But anyway, I'll do my best to answer this. So first up has to be Catra and Adora from Shira and the Princess of Power on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should. I am like a huge Shira stan. And Catra and Adora is my favorite, yeah, for sure. Another one that I would mention right now is Evelyn and Flora from The Mermaid, the Witch and the Sea by Maggie Hall, which is such an amazing, I cried so much reading that book. So you should definitely check that book out as well. So Ikram asks me how to stay consistent. Not the best person to ask this question. I have no idea how to be consistent. No idea whatsoever. I try, but like I get stumpy or I get distracted very easily. And like in the past couple of months, I've been playing so many video games that I'm not being very consistent with any of my, creative outlets that I have online, like my Bookstagram or my book blog. But like sometimes I just get a boost of energy, so I would do a lot of things, and I really understand the concept of scheduling, I guess, because if I write something, I will just post it right then and there. So I have no idea how to be consistent. Ikram, I'm so sorry. The next question is my best 2020 reads. Again, a very hard question to answer because 2020 has been a really good year for me with regards to reading. So let me just scroll through my list real quick and I will pick like 3 of them. So I have picked 3 which has been really hard, but let's go for it. So one of them is Mexican Gothic by Sofia Marina Garcia, and I really love this book. I'm not really a horror reader, but I have come to enjoy it at a certain point of time because I don't really like the whole jump scares and everything. I need something that is like horrific in its very essence, and I think Mexican Gothic achieved that for me. So I had a really good time reading this book, and the protagonist was very interesting and very eclectic and very intelligent to me, and I was instantly in love the moment I started reading her. So it was just an amazing book. I have a review about it on my blog. I will link it below if you would like to check it out. Please do. So another one has to be Analog, Virtual and Other Simulations of Your Future by Lavanya Lakshminarayan. So this book kind of really blew my mind because when I went in there, I wasn't really expecting a lot. I don't know why. So I was just like, okay, yeah, this premise seems interesting, but I don't know what to expect of it because not a lot has been given to me in the premise, in the synopsis itself. But it was really amazing. So I really liked the storytelling style because it doesn't have like a consistent protagonist or even like a consistent timeline. But what it does is it like builds this world using short stories. So you get to see a lot of different characters, but it's not really a POV thing, but you get to explore every single aspect of the world from the person who is being exploited rather than, just one person who sees everything that's happening around them. So I really like that, and the way that it's spinned around the concept of meritocracy really got to me, because living in India, and we have this caste-based reservation system, and I'm sure other places, like other countries, also have some kind of system, that's kind of like, I guess, what Americans call affirmative action. So what people always talk about, oh, like it should be all meritocratic, it shouldn't be based on this thing and that thing. So when I read this book, it was like, oh, like people should really, really read this book to understand like how everything, whenever a system is created, it is created to benefit certain people, and no matter what you do, you can say it's meritocratic, but it will always end up benefiting certain people who created that system. So it was like really thought provoking and interesting, and just mind blowing in certain regards. So yeah, I really, really like that book. Another one has to be Freshwater by Kwake Meze. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think I am. I read this book for Transathon in July, and I read it near the end of the month, and it was really, really interesting. It's hard for me to describe how it affected me, but I do believe like it changed certain parts of me, because a lot of my inner thoughts that I had never even enunciated in my own head were written down there. And I really liked the way it used certain fantasy elements to show the internal struggles of people, of non-binary people, of people who go through abuse and violence. And it's really expansive. It's a really short book, but the impact it has on a person who's reading it is really expansive. So it's kind of hard for me to explain all of that, because I don't think I have actually really I don't think I have actually really, thought it all out in my head after reading it. Even though I read it like a month ago, it's really amazing. That's what I'm trying to say. These next set of questions are from Amber on Twitter, and she's asking me what is my favorite place to read. I don't actually have a favorite place to read, but someday I would really, really like to have a book nook, like a really comfy book nook, but I haven't achieved that goal yet. So I usually end up reading in bed, and I start out in this posture, but by the end I'm just lying down. And ever since I got a Kindle, I am in a sleeping posture, and I would just turn on my side and read on my Kindle. I think it's really bad for my health and like for my eyes, but I just don't give a fuck at this point. It's 2020. We are in the middle of a pandemic. Nothing matters anymore. Next question is, which book got you into reading? So I think it's like a complicated answer for me, because I was always very interested in reading. So I have a brother who's 5 years elder than me, and whenever we got our course books for when school started, I would just pick up his literature books for like Hindi and for English, and I would just read all of them. So because I have always loved stories, and I have loved how they explore the human condition, the human psyche. So I have always been into reading, and I think what really got me into reading was this. One time I went to a book fair, and I got this book of 51 short stories from Premchand, and I think that really got me into reading, because I would just read it over and over again. I think I've read it at least 5 times, and I was in 9th grade, I guess. No, I was younger. I was maybe in like 6th or 7th grade. So I was like 12, 13 years old when I got this book, but I really liked Premchand's storytelling. And I think a lot of stories in that book have mature themes, and like everything that they explore are a little mature. And I didn't understand all of it at that point, but I still enjoyed reading them nonetheless. And the next question that Amber has asked is top 2 books you're anticipating in 2021, which is very, very tough. I know she's done this to me on purpose because she wants to torture me, and I hate her for that. No, I don't. I actually love her very much. But yeah, so top two, I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Top two books that I'm anticipating in 2021. So one of them has to be Honey and Issues Guide to Fake Dating because I just love Adiba Jagiraj so much. Her book, The Hina Wars, changed my life. So like there's her book, The Hina Wars, it changed my life. So like I just love her. I am a big Adiba Jagiraj stan. Put it on my bio, put it on my face, I don't care. But Honey and Issues Guide to Fake Dating, that is what I'm talking about. If you haven't read The Winner Wars, you have to read it, or you cannot be my friend. Okay. And the other book that I would say I am highly anticipating, is She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. And it has a lot of, things. It's like it checks a lot of my boxes because I have recently very much started to love contemporary romances, and it's sapphic, which is always a plus. It's sapphic. I love it, and it has sports in it. So I like to say that this is a genre. For me, it's a genre. I like to say, which is called Be Gay, Do Sports. So I have a couple of books and animes and TV shows which fit that category, and I love them very much. So I'm so excited to fit another book into that genre. It's one of my favorite genres. I'm very much looking forward to that. And these next set of questions are from Ocean on Twitter. So let's see. What are your top 3 favorite books? This is very hard. Okay, I don't think I can ever choose my top 3 favorite books, because what happens is when I read them, I'm like, I am extremely in love with this book, but then I learn new things and I grow up and I change, so my choices change. So I think I usually stick to whatever are my this year's or this month's top 3 books, and I could do that. But I will try to answer this question. So one of them has to be The Hina Wars by Viva Jayalalitha, because that book is everything to me. It changed my life as a bisexual / pansexual girl from South Asia. It just means so much to me. It's hard to put it into words. Maybe someday I will be able to do that, and maybe I will make a video about it. But yeah, the other one would be Analog Virtual and Simulations of the Future, and Stop. I think the third one is really hard for me to choose. And the third one would be, I'm gonna go with Darius the Great is Not Okay. Or actually both the books, Darius the Great series, because I really love the portrayal of depression and anxiety in those books, and I think that is the only book that I read when I was like, this actually feels realistic. This is what I have experienced in my whole life, and I could relate to this, and it feels like I'm being seen. So yeah, those are my top 3. So the next question is, which genre do you read the most? So it's definitely fantasy. I read a lot of fantasy, even though this year I haven't done it that much, because I have discovered that I like reading contemporary romances this year. So I have been reading a lot more of those. But yeah, fantasy is my go-to genre always, anytime, because I really love the elements of magic and fantastical creatures. And I think sometimes that's what I feel like is missing in our world. I think I would be much more interested in our world if it had all these elements. So yeah, I go find my refuge elsewhere. I read a lot of fantasy books. So next question is, which genre do you want to read more of? Okay, so I definitely want to read more of this natural horror that I saw in Mexican Gothic, because I really liked it. I like the, how it wasn't there are ghosts here, and there's this weird creature from hell or something, but it was very, I don't know how to explain it. It would be a spiritual thing. like it was affecting your mind, and it wasn't really like, it wasn't like there were actual ghosts there. It was affecting your mind to make it seem like there were ghosts there, and like things like that. That is what I liked a lot. So yeah, I'm looking into reading that kind of horror a little more. What's your favorite trope? My favorite trope, always found family. I will simp for found family anytime. You can bet on it. I love found family, and I think that is why one of my most favorite things in the entire world has to be Critical Role. Because I really love the whole found family dynamic that that show gives me every Friday morning. So yeah, found family, my favorite trope. Okay, the next question is, what is your least favorite trope? Least favorite. I think this might not, like, people might find it weird, but like I really do not like the chosen one trope, because I'm more of I think I'm more of a anyone can wear the mask, you can wear the mask kind of person. So I don't really like the chosen one trope, because I think that it's very weird that only one person is supposed to save the entire world, and everything that comes with that. And I think it just places way too much importance on the protagonist, like the entire world revolves around them, and I don't like that much. But I really like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I watched it very recently, just like last month, and I really liked it. And I think it's because it has to do a lot more with like learning other people's culture and like the cultural heritage that comes with bending. That's why I really like it, and also because there's an avatar cycle. So every time someone dies, there's a new avatar, and it's not always the same person. They're all very different people. I mean, they have all of their past lives, wisdom and everything else, but they're very different people, and I think that's why I like ADLA, but I don't like it just on trope at all. These next two questions are from Fatima on Twitter. So she's asking me, do you have any other hobbies besides reading? Not really. I mean, I don't know, I don't do much, but I have a very busy schedule somehow. So, whatever free time I get, I end up reading or I watch some TV show or something. But I think you can kind of call video gaming my hobby, although I'm not good at it at all because I have zero hand-eye coordination, so I suck at it. And I always play at the easiest level. Never ask me to play MMOs because I suck. I do not know how to do any of those weird things like farming or I don't know anything. I don't know. I don't do well in MMOs. I suck. But yeah, I like playing video games. They're fun, like shooting people, solving mysteries, and everything else. So like, I think Tomb Raider series is probably my favorite video game of all time, because it has like all the elements. It has like fighting, it has drama, it has puzzle solving, and like you have to consistently use your brain to like pass through all the obstacles, and it's not just like pick up your gun and shoot everything. Yeah. So yeah, I really like Tomb Raider. Although I'm not a big fan of the white savior narrative that they push every single time, but whatever, I guess. Okay, so the next question is, day reader or night reader? Definitely a night reader, because I think I like quiet when I'm reading. So I always read in the night, and like I don't like people disturbing me, and that usually happens throughout the day here because everyone is awake. And I've been a night owl from I don't even remember, but I really like being awake at night because everyone else is asleep and it's quiet and peaceful, and I can jump around in circles and nobody would care, nobody would notice. But yeah, night reader. So next question is from Charlie on Twitter, and she's asking me, what was the first book or series you really connected with and why? So yeah, I guess it has to be the Hina Wars, because that is the first time I felt truly seen in a book, with respect to how having South Asian parents and like being a queer person and everything. So that is the book I felt most seen with, and I could instantly relate to all the things that came with it, even though I'm not an immigrant and I have not experienced that kind of racism that Michelle experiences. But yeah, I have like seen elements of it. So yeah, the divorce. This next question is from Nora on Twitter. She was asking me, what's your favorite genre? So definitely SFF. So like I said before, this is the next question is from Nora on Twitter. So she's asking me, what's your favorite genre? So my favorite genre has to be SFF because I really like the elements of things that don't exist in the real world. And the world building in SFF books is always very different from, say, contemporary books or romance books or even thrillers because, there's a lot more, I think, because there's a lot of a lot of history and lore that comes with creating a SFF world. And it makes me very excited to explore that world because it seems brand new and I don't know anything about it, and I like going in blind and just being amazed and dazzled by everything that's happening there. This next question is from Sametha on Twitter. She's asking me, what are you most excited for with respect to Booktube? I think what I'm most excited about with respect to Booktube is that I have all these other platforms. I have a Bookstagram, I have a book blog, and I have a Twitter. But there is the thing that what happens is when I am writing, I kind of put certain bars upon myself, and I'm like, I have to be short, I have to be elegant and eloquent. But I try to be. I am not. I don't think in any way I am an eloquent person, but I try to be because it has come with this history of writing as a journalist and Emmys and stuff. I don't know. I think Emmys are a little different around the world, but when I did Emmys, we used to have this thing called the international press. So I used to be a reporter for it. And so there were a lot of restrictions on how we were supposed to write. And we were supposed to be always keep short and simple and try not to be seeing all this over dramatic and everything. So whatever my platforms have, I think I always try to put a little bit of my personality into everything that I do. And I have all these platforms, but I don't think it can capture all of my weird side of reading books, like me screaming in joy or frustration or just getting stuck on these weird little things. And I think that's what I want to explore with Booktube. Just be weird as fuck. that's what I'm trying to do with my Booktube. Be weird as fuck. So this next question is from Kate on Twitter. So they are asking me, books you read for school that you actually liked. So like I have mentioned, I am a resident of India and this is where I grew up, and since English is the second or even the third language for a lot of us, we don't exactly have much in literature when we are in school. We get these course books, they have short stories and they have poetry and they have plays in there, but we don't actually get to read classics or anything. So I think the only books that we were given as required reading in that was in 11th and 12th grade, and I think we read The Candle Ghost by Oscar Wilde and I think The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. And those books, the required reading books, they had been changed right at the time. So I was really curious because I was looking forward to reading some big dramatic and classical books, and then they were oh, take this. And it kind of seemed very children's literature, but yeah, I just read them and gave the exam. So no, there wasn't a lot of required reading for us. All of that was just in our course books and everything. So I didn't actually do a lot of reading for myself until I went off to college. Okay, so now we're moving on to questions from Instagram. Let's get into it. This question is from Simran on Instagram, and she's asking me how you got to reading and were your family supportive of this since childhood. Most definitely not. My family still does not support it, and they kind of hate it because right now, I'm at home living with them, and they're just how many books are you going to get? And I'm never ever look at my book collection that I have in Bangalore where I live, because I instantly get disowned because they would be how dare you spend this much money on books that are not even for your studying or anything, just for leisure reading. And then I would be I haven't even read half of them. Definitely getting disowned. But yeah, my parents were not supportive of it, and that's why I didn't actually do a lot of pleasure reading until I got to college and I was in charge of my own finances and could like do whatever I wanted and nobody could stop me. But yeah, these next set of questions are from Divya on Instagram. So let's see. Favorite Shira and ATLA character. So if you haven't realized yet, I really really like Shira and Avatar: The Last Airbender. So favorite characters. For Shira, it has to be Scorpia. I just love her. She's so wholesome and amazing. She deserves everything in this world. So I really like her arc because it's like she's kind of like this person who was forced into doing something that she didn't really understand, and she was just following her family's legacy. But like she did actually want to hurt anyone, but she was forced to do it because she thought that is what she's supposed to do, and everything that comes with that. And she has this immaculate strength to her, and I think she's very optimistic, which is like very she's very optimistic, which is the exact opposite of what I am, but I really love her. She's amazing. Favorite ADLA character has to be Toph because she's so metal. Doesn't take shit from anyone, does what she wants, don't give a fuck. Also, she's like really funny, but nobody acknowledges that. And I think that I kind of relate to that a little bit. Like, yeah, Toph, I think she's really confident. She's just stands there and she's like, I'm the best earthbender in this world. And she is. Nobody can deny it. So, yeah, Toph. Okay, so the next question is my favorite genre and favorite book from the genre. Oh, favorite genre is obviously SFF. Favorite book, I don't know. Favorite book is kind of hard to get, like kind of hard to choose. But okay, let me go through my list. But my favorite book, this is going to be really, really hard to pick. So I'm just going to go with a book that I recently read and loved very, very much, which is Descendant of the Crane by Joan Hay. And I am so fucking angry that a sequel doesn't exist. Who does that? Why would you do that to me? I deserve a sequel. Publishing, give me a sequel. Okay, I need it. Anyway, so the next question is top 5 queer characters. Okay. Again, very, very hard to answer. I'm going to try my best. Let's see. Okay, so first up, so this is going to be in no particular order, but like, yeah, favorite queer characters, definitely Nishat from the Hina Wars, and Felix from Felix Ever After, Crier from Crier's War, Yada Zuknara from Priory of the Orange Tree, and yeah, Ben from I Wish You All the Best. These are my favorites right now. I have a lot more sapphic books to read, so maybe this will change. But okay, now I can stop thinking about how Ironheart is coming on around September 8th, and it's going to break me. But I'm looking forward to it anyway. Okay, next question. How gay are you in the scale of gay to gay? I am so extremely gay, you have no idea. I am so gay, man. I cannot tell you how gay I am. To be clear, I am not gay. I use bisexual and pansexual labels. So, yeah, I guess. I don't know. This next question is from Saintari on Instagram. Let's see. What was the book that got you into reading? How did your reading journey begin? I think I already answered this. So I was always interested in reading, but like I would just read course literature, and then I bought a couple of Hindi books, and I was like, cool. Then when I graduated out of school, I was like, yay, now I'm in charge of my own finances, so I can read whatever I want. That's what I did. Cool. So this next question is from Vedika on Instagram. So she's asking me, what do you do for a living? I thought it was very, very clear from my hair that I'm an amateur dye job specialist. I'm not. It's kind of complicated, but I think the easiest way to explain that would be I'm a data scientist. So I am only 22, so I have only been working for a year, but I work for a data science company and we do data science shit. I don't actually want to get into it that much, but yeah, this is actually the kind of the only thing that I was interested in. So I kind of like my job. Doesn't pay off one. Okay, so this next question is from @bookshitcrazy on Instagram. So I don't know their real name, so I'm sorry. I'm just gonna go with your handle. So they are asking me which genre is your calling. So I think this has to do with like what kind of genre would I want to write in if I do Sunday write. So I think for a long time I would like to do SF, and I do have some ideas in that, but like I'm really lazy, and like I said before, I'm not consistent at all. So I don't know if I could do that. But like I recently had an idea for a contemporary novel, and yeah, I think it's going somewhere. I'm not gonna give much away. Like yeah, maybe I don't actually know what I'm doing here. I don't think I'm a writer by any means, but it's always nice to explore your ideas. So we'll see where that goes. So these next set of questions are from Gayatri on Instagram, and she's asking me your favorite book of all time. So yeah, it has to be the Hina Wars. Nothing is ever going to top the Hina Wars. Maybe High Initial's Guide to Fake Dating might top it, but I think I would still very, very much love the Hina Wars forevermore. It just changed my life. I don't know how else to put it. So yeah. Second question is, what do you look for in a book? This is kind of hard to answer. I think in a book, I am usually looking for experiences that are different from my own, but also something that I can relate to. So, like, I don't really have that problem of like, ooh, this character was not at all relatable. I think because I can always like pick out something, a little thing from a character's personality that I could relate to. So I think what I always look for is like something interesting, something very unique, or characters that are morally grey, and yeah, something along those lines. In SFF, I usually look for like world building and think how the kind of themes that are explored, because there's a lot of ground that you could cover, and like you could always break new ground in SFF because it's entirely your world. But in like contemporaries, I usually look for queerness. Yes, I don't really read like non-queer contemporaries. So yeah, if it's like queer, I would read it. That's my criteria in contemporaries. So the next question is, who slash what motivated you to start book blogging? So I won't say like it was like one person or any a group of people. I think it was more related to what I wanted to do. There are always influences, but I don't think I can like pinpoint them. So I saw people blogging, and I was like, okay, that seems cool. And I would like read people's blogs, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is something that I might be interested in. So I first thing that I started was my Bookstagram, and I got like I was a really what do you call it? Yeah, I was like a lurker on Bookstagram for a long, long time, and then at one point in time, I was like, fuck it, why not interact with people? Leave my weird introvert self a little behind, and just like I was at the time, I had just joined my new job right out of college, so I was like, new place, new experiences, new me. I wasn't really that much of a new me, but I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna do something. I am on this platform and I talk about, like, I post about books anyway, so why not become a part of the community? Why just stay separate? So that's how I started my Bookstagram, and then what happened with book blogging is like I saw a lot of people, and they were how they talked about books and the kind of posts that they wrote, and I was just like, okay, yeah. So one thing with Bookstagram is that maybe people might not agree with me, but I think Bookstagram has a lot more to do with like aesthetic and the photo and everything that comes with it. And I like that it is like it explores a different side of creativity. But with book blogging, I think what matters more is the words that I'm saying, that I'm writing. And I think that I wanted a platform where my voice mattered rather than how my picture looked. So yeah, that's why I started book blogging. I was like, cool, I'm just gonna write stuff in a very eloquent way, which is not actually eloquent at all. But like, yeah, I think I put more of my feelings into my blog, and I think I put like bits of my personality into the photos that I take from Instagram. Okay, so Nabila on Instagram asked me what are my favorite genres. I think I already answered this. But thank you, Nabila, for asking me a question. And next question is from Vedika. And she's asking me books that made me cry. I in a lot of books, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea what actually makes me cry. But like, if there is something that I could relate to in like a real life event that happened to me, or I don't know, I have some very weird, relational dynamics going on in my brain. So I would sometimes just cry for no fucking reason when I'm reading books. But there are a lot of books that have made me cry. The most recent one has to be, I guess, The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea by Maggie Dakota Hall. I cried so much right at the end. Just like snot, tears. It was ugly as fuck. I'm so happy nobody saw me. That's why I read at night. Nobody can see me do that. Another book that made me cry recently was Descendant of the Crane. Because I think certain parts of it about the relationship between siblings, that they were like really beautifully written and they made me cry. And what else? Okay. Yeah. Darius the Great deserves better made me cry so much because I think it explored a lot of insecurities and like anxieties that I had with respect to relationships with my parents, with like a romantic partner, or even with friendships. So yeah, that made me cry. The Poet Acts by Elizabeth Acevedo made me cry a whole lot because South Asian parents, they are strict. No matter what you say, they are strict. And even though my parents are not that strict, but like when I was in school, they were kind of strict, and like I did not feel like I had a lot of freedom, even though compared to other people I did. But like comparison does not matter. Okay, I did not feel like I had a lot of freedom, and yeah, so like certain parts of it about how the Xiomara talks about how her mother cares more about what people and what God thinks rather than what her daughter thinks and what makes her happy. So yeah, that was what's made me cry a whole lot. And I don't know, there are a lot of books. The Hinoverse has definitely made me cry. I've read that twice in just this year. I will probably read it one more time. But yeah, Birds of Hinoverse have made me cry a lot too. So yeah, I think I'm just a crybaby, maybe. I don't know. But I do cry a lot. So anyway. Okay, so this is the last question. This is from my best friend forever, Amul Bhatnagar on Instagram. And he's asking me how to face the ever-growing pile of TBR that stands next to my bed. You just have to do it. You get up from your bed. You stare right into its eyes and you tell it, I will read you when I want to. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can make me do anything. And if they fall on you and bury you alive, I'm so sorry, I will come to your funeral. Anyway, I think we're done. This is it. And I had a lot of fun answering all these questions. I hope you liked this video. I hope you check out all the people who asked me questions who I linked below. And because they are amazing people and they have such creative outlets like Bookstagram and Booktube and Bookblog, and well, they are really great. Anyway, so I am looking forward to being on this platform a little bit more. I don't actually know what I'm doing here, but I think I will just figure it out as I go along. I hope you liked my video. If you did, leave a comment. And I don't actually know how to end this thing, but I think you have to say like, share, comment, subscribe, something. Yeah. So yeah. Good day.